So today we have a few young people who'd like to share their thoughts on the care system in New South Wales. But before we begin, David, could you do the acknowledgement to the country?
I would like to welcome everyone upon the lands we stand today. I am on Darug land and I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, both past, present, and those that are emerging.
Thanks for that, David, and also the lands that we all stand on today. I know that prior to today's webinar, we were having a conversation about what are the key issues that are impacting the New South Wales care system, and there were three things that popped out, which was transition from care, mental health support, and general support. So to start the conversation, Taya, would you like to sort of shed your thoughts?
Honestly, I find that the care system shows formally that there are quite a lot of support for young people and people in care and leaving care. However, personally don't feel like that's really enough. So the only real support that I ever got given was my financial leaving care financial plan. I didn't get taught how to pay bills. I wasn't taught how to find a rental house. I wasn't taught how to do any of the being an adult sort of situation. And even with the financial care plan, it's extremely hard to access. So I don't believe personally that there is enough support for young people, especially when they're leaving care. Mental health as well. In my own experience, the only way that the caseworkers would ever give me any mental health support was take me to psychiatrists, and I think I had about 20 in my entire time I was in care, which helped some people, but in other situations, just being there and showing the young person that you care is enough. And yeah, I think that's a bit lacking there.
Thanks, Taya. David?
Yeah, well, I guess the thing that I kind of want to touch on is the transition out of care. I was very fortunate. I moved into uni accommodation before I turned 18 because of scholarships and stuff. But the things I've heard is part of the process for transitioning out of care is having a leaving care plan, and that is meant to start when you were 15. I'm pretty sure for Life Without Barriers anyway. And what do you call it? I definitely didn't start mine at 15. It's meant to be a really detrimental part of moving out because you're supposed to have those biannually progress updates and stuff. And I didn't start mine until maybe 2 months before I moved out of care. So that made things really hard. And even though I had secured accommodation and stuff, it made the process really annoying for me. And I can kind of see why it was something like 35% of kids after turning 18 turn out to be homeless. It's because they're not given the right supports.
Yeah, I'm going to add on to that as well. I was fortunate enough to start my leaving care plan at 15, but then the system changed to DJC or DCJ. So we had a whole management problem, like all of it. We lost all of our managers, and it's only now that we're really getting stable. So we lost a lot of time to complete our leaving care plan. It's only in the last 6 months that we've really looked into it and gone, hey, like what's going on? And I turned 18 in 4 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know how old all of you guys are, but around that 18 years of age I'm going to take. I find it funny that this is still a massive issue, this transitioning from care. But then that brings me to the current issue that we have now with the virus. Like just said, he's turning 18 in 4 weeks. We're all in isolation and lockdown and places have closed. what does that mean? Where does that leave like people in that situation? And like, I have to say, I feel for you. You must be like, your head must be spinning a million miles an hour right now.
I'm scared.
And that's the sad part. Where's the resources for that? Where's the information? Like,
You make a good point, Kiani, around that situation, especially with COVID, and how the care system looks pre, during, and post-COVID. But Maddie, I know that you are quite passionate about the transition from care, mental health services, and general support as well.
Yeah, so for me personally, in my experience while being in care, so I'm 20 now. Now, I had a really incredible caseworker in out-of-home care. I was with Family and Community Services before they changed to, I think it was Department of Community and Justice. And I had a really incredible aftercare plan. I had a really incredible experience with transitioning out of care. I had a really supportive carer who started my plan as soon as I entered his caseload, I guess. And so for me, over the years working with some of the people, the young consultants through Create and then outside of Create, and hearing that their experiences were not like mine were quite startling. And I think it's something that is quite a contrast when looking at myself and then looking at young people, that we need to look at changing. I'm quite passionate on it. So I hope that, before I get older, I get a chance to see some change. I'm currently trying to study. I'm currently trying to study so I can become a caseworker, so I can see if I can make a change within the system.
That was great, Maddie and Kiani, about, it's going into our last question as to how would you like to see the care system change and what would be different? And I know we've already touched on a few things. Is there anything else that we want to talk about in regards to how we'd like to see the system change and look differently for us in New South Wales?
Kind of taking a realistic approach to mental health with kids in care. All I know is that a lot of kids in foster care, we've all had traumatic experiences with different things and whatnot. And you don't always get the right diagnosis. Well, most of the time it's the wrong diagnosis. A lot of kids, what do you call it? Trauma kind of mimics ADHD symptoms and stuff. So a lot of these kids are getting put on all these sorts of different medications that, might help in the short term, but it's not fixing any problems that are dug deep within.
Could I just add to that in regards to education? We should not just be seen as numbers. Things need to change within the education system, so it's not just seen as we are the problem children. We are not the problem children. We have problems. There are ingrained problems. We have a lot of trauma to deal with. And like David said, a lot of it is misdiagnosed, or, there are cases where you're not diagnosed at all. I didn't get diagnosed with the mental illnesses that I had until I was close to 18, and I'm saying this from someone who had, like I say, an incredible caseworker who really jumped, because nobody knew what to do. Like, it's the same as society. Society has roots. We should be looking at the roots of it and looking at why the roots are dry, instead of just going to throw away the plant and to say that it is a lost cause. We should be looking at it and going, has it been watered? Is there enough nutrition? Is there enough care that has been put in to help this plant? And it should be the same as young people. We need to look at the roots of what is going on within the care system, where all of the systems within the Australian government are connected, in some way or another.
Adding on to the onto the diagnosis thing, I've seen cases where a caseworker has diagnosed another young person, like they've speculated a diagnosis of a young person, let's just say autism. All right, let's record it down that they've actually been diagnosed. Now that young person gets moved into another suburb and gets a complete different caseworker change, and they see that file, or that young person's got autism without it actually even being diagnosed. And then their whole life they've been going through, oh, I'm autistic, until a pediatrician or a psychiatrist or a psychologist actually sits down and goes, either you are autistic or you're not autistic. Like, I've seen that happen a lot. My other thing was something that to change the care system for me is I moved down to Victoria from New South Wales into a kinship placement, and the day before my court date, which like we had 12 to 24 months of fighting for me to go into DHS down in Victoria because of the state borders and the financial assistance of like moving into state. And I just believe that they should all just become one, like there should just be one child safety thing, because the day before I got moved out was my court date. And if I'd stayed in Victoria for one more day, I would have been placed into a resi house in Victoria, but they put me all the way back up into New South Wales.
I actually really agree with a lot of what everyone is saying at the moment. I am a huge speaker of the importance of communication. And honestly, I believe that the way communication between caseworker, carer, birth parents, and child in care is not handled correctly at all. It's really not good. I had situations where I felt belittled because I was in the same room as the caseworker and carer. My carer was trying to get the caseworker to talk to me, not them. They were talking to my carer about me in situations where they should have been talking to me.
No, that was fantastic. Thanks, Taya. Kiani.
A lot of things need to change, but that communication is a big thing. How can you sit down as a bunch of adults, seriously, even adults that have your own kids, and say, hey, we're going to make decisions about a bunch of kids, and guess what? Here's the big thing. We're not going to involve the kids. How can you make decisions about somebody without asking somebody what they want? What is best for them? That's all it takes. Just get to know the child, and every single case or child is going to be different. There's no one mixture that's solution for everybody. There's no magic potion that's going to fix all of us.
Thanks, Kiani. And I want to thank each and every one of you for sharing your experiences and thoughts today with us. And this is going to be invaluable to all the other kids out there and to organisations, to Cut Off, and services, to everybody. So thank you so much for tonight.